delegates to elect a supervisor as mayor, so this is a pretty critical election. And the question that's come from the audience relates to that. And it'll be asked in this order: 6, 5, 1, 7, 3, 2, 4. And I'm just going to address you now, from now on, as number 6. Or just 5, like to be rude. 5 you! As one of 11 supervisors, you will need the support of at least 5 others to execute your agenda. How do you propose to do that? Nisi, Jocelyn, you get to answer this one first. And you have, for this question, 90 seconds.
To attempt to get the support of my 5 other companions on the board, absolutely burrowing down into whatever the legislation or resolution, ordinance, or whatever that is that's coming before us, and having a really open conversation. Someone talked about trust. Building trust with one another is very important, and truly weighing out how this legislation, or whatever that piece would be, to the entire district, to the entire city. Hopefully, speaking to the outside pressures that some of my other board members may be facing, determining how, which would impact how they're even able to consider what is being put before them. I think, unfortunately, that has become a huge issue. And you may even have to deal with the pressures, unfortunately, more than you're even really dealing with the actual issue. But hopefully, we'd be able to have a conversation that would say, look, we've got to put aside our future ambitions and be looking at the people that we are serving, and how is this really going to impact all of our constituents.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Christy Mindia, and I'll just remind everybody of the question again. As one of 11 supervisors, you'll need the support of at least 5 others to execute your agenda. How do you propose to do that?
Thank you for the question. My first response is, why stop at 5? Why not go for all of them? Raise your hand if you've been to a Baby Project Area Committee meeting. You. They can be contentious. I will say I don't know much about what it was like before I served on it, but I have been told frequently after joining the Project Area Committee that I have formed alliances between people who did not used to speak to each other. You cannot come to an understanding or an agreement to disagree without talking to each other. I think it's been very difficult in this district for a long time to build trust, to build relationships with people who don't agree with each other. I pride myself in being able to do that. I have lunch with people who, if I were seen having lunch with them, then this person might not talk to me. That's the risk you have to take. We need to form a network throughout this district, throughout the city. We need to educate each other on the complexities of the issues that we face. I've been a career-long negotiator. I have a reputation for finding creative solutions. One of my favorite tips to being a successful negotiator is, well, just give everybody what they want. And there are a lot of ways to do that. There are a lot of ways to change the game, to look at a problem in a different way and to find creative solutions. I have a record of doing that. I would continue to do that on the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Eric Smith, how are you going to get the people on the board on your side?
Thank you, Mr. Goldstein, and I am not a number. You know what? I'm not really a politician. I'm not some ideological, radical, lefty guy that's the super standard bearer for the progressives. I'm not the moderate, conservative guy. I'm the guy that's broken up bar fights with Chris Daly. I've gone to jazz shows with Bevan Duffy. So I'm not part of either one of those things. I think from what I've heard from the voters and people in District 10, they're sick of District 10 residents being treated as a ping pong ball. They want someone to really represent them, someone who shares their values and is going to carry what they believe in to the Board of Supervisors. I think I'm that person. I think we're going to have some unity. And I think this is a very important seat. I think whoever holds this seat is going to have a lot of power in getting what this community needs and what's best for the city of San Francisco for that very reason. Thank you, Keith.
Thanks, Ed. Stephen Weber.
What I would do to get a majority to pass legislation and to get the additional supervisors to go along with me is the same thing I said earlier. I've got 25 years of experience as a team builder, consensus builder, and getting people to get together and accomplish a common goal. As far as getting to other supervisors, I've already started that process. I've been meeting and talking with candidates from a lot of the other districts and already trying to build those connections, those alliances, those understandings where we have common ground, so that whoever does wind up elected in the other districts, there's already a rapport established. And I would continue to do that, again, with the meetings and the meetings of the mind, consensus building, and that's, I believe, where you always have to start with. Thank you.
Steve Moss.
So this goes into the category of everything you learn in kindergarten, right? Or more appropriately, what you learn from your wife and daughter. So there's really three ways that you're going to get your votes. You got to listen to people when they talk, like really listen to what they say. You got to admit when you're wrong, and really admit and understand that you were wrong. And you got to solve their problems. And this district is fortunate in that it has a great capacity. As I said, it's not the problem. It has a great capacity to solve the city's problems. The city wants more tax revenue. It's going to come out of this part of the city, and this is where economic growth is going to happen. The city wants to take care of its kids. Well, our kids are being raised mostly in this district. The city wants more open space. Hey, we've got some open space that we need to develop right here in this district. So finding a way to solve these other supervisors' problems, because they're motivated because they're elected by district to help solve their district's problems. Well, if they can go back to their district and say, hey, I just talked to the supervisor from D10, and guess what? He's got something for us. One final thing. My sense is that most supervisors don't know their way to District 10. They don't know where we are, and they don't know how to get here. So we got to start taking them to lunch in all our favorite places in the district. And we got to start going to lunch in all their favorite places in their district, because that's also how you make friends. You have lunch with them. Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. See you next week.
Thank you. You know, that's a great question. What do you do to get your colleagues to work with you on your issues, and how do you get those votes? I chaired the San Francisco Redevelopment Commission. I was elected by my colleagues. I chaired the San Francisco Taxi Commission. I was elected by my colleagues. I chaired the Bar Board of Directors. I was elected by my colleagues. There's a reason for that. I am a consensus builder. I don't need to learn how to do it. I already know how. And you do it by making sure that you listen to them, but you also make sure that they hear you. Now, one thing that you have to understand is that as a bar board member, I'm dealing with folks who are in 3 different counties, who don't look anything at all like me, whose constituents don't have a whole lot to do with what goes on in the district I represent. But I, right now, have done some things that are just truly out there. BART can't serve coffee on its trains, but we are making money by selling it in the stations because consensus building. I got my colleagues to believe that that was a great way to get alternative revenue for our trains. I also reformed our police department in a way that allowed us to have civilian oversight, unanimous votes, consensus building. You get people to hear you because you've heard them. Thank you.